Hello, my name is Linda, also known as Tortajala around the internet, and I love creative journaling and all things stationery. Today, I wanted to chit chat a bit about the budget friendly stationery items that I purchased while on summer vacation, but I think it generally applies all the time when it comes to finding supplies for your journaling to make it more fun. I know that many of us have our favorite brands of stationery, and oftentimes they're like Japanese brands or somewhere overseas, so the price of these stationery supplies themselves, they can be a bit much. And I've also noticed that if you do most of your shopping online, there's always that shipping threshold to meet or make the most of your purchase. So I find that we're often consciously or unconsciously just like forcing ourselves to buy more than we really intended to because it's an online order. So while on vacation, I noticed that there's actually a lot of nice stationery options out there in the everyday shops that we frequent. I was in the United States, but there are equivalents, of course, in Europe as well. Wherever you live, I think, you'll be able to find things if you just sort of like take notice and maybe look out with like journaling eyes the next time you're out and about. So when I was in the states, I definitely went to Walmart just to pick up some pen and gear notebooks. And the reason was to try them out because everyone said that they were really great for fountain pens, which is true. These little like lined notebooks, and they have various sizes, but I got these like handy mini ones. But they are very inexpensive, and your fountain pens work with them, meaning you don't get the feathering or like horrible ghosting that rather like regular printer paper would show. So honestly, this paper, it's like better than most moleskins because most moleskin paper, unless you like find that unicorn, it won't take fountain pen. So it just goes to show that you don't necessarily need to buy a fancy notebook to be able to use all kinds of like supplies and mediums. Certainly, it might take some testing to find out what works. But case in point, I realized that I have a ream of printer paper, and it's the Fabriano multi paper. I sometimes buy it to print like nicer things because I can get them in various weights so that it's just like slightly better than like the very thin, like 70 or 80-gram printer paper. And this Fabriano paper, I actually used it to make a few traveler's notebook inserts because I realized that the paper takes fountain pen like really nicely. There's no feathering, there's like practically no ghosting. So it also means that like markers, gel pens, all that other kind of stuff will work. And being able to buy like a ream of this paper, even if it's quote unquote, pricey compared to printer paper, it's not as pricey as getting like a notebook, and you could make so many inserts or notebooks yourselves with a ream of paper. So I had just never thought to try like the printer paper with fountain pens because I used it for a different purpose. But just a random time, I like tried a bunch of papers. So you might want to take a look around at the supplies you already have and what you have like easy access to see if it'll actually work because you just never know before you turn to, the premium brand options that obviously cost so much more. So when I was in the United States, I also went to Daiso, which is like a dollar store kind of thing, but from Japan. Um, and basically, I always go to check out like the stickers and stationery items. I know that most dollar stores are no longer actually like a dollar, but it'll still be, more affordable, economical in general. Here in Europe, we have Action, which is a pretty good store as well that has a lot of stationery. So just in general, you can find things like sticker sheets, washi tapes, memo sheets, things like that. So I got these, and they were like what, $2 each, maybe, or something like that. Um, and so it's just perfect for journaling, planner decor, all that kind of stuff. And I also got this notebook from Daiso because I wanted to test out the paper. And generally, I just like that it's this format, this landscape style, because it's a nice size to put um, under your keyboard at your desk for notes that like it sits under your hand. So there are actually quite a few notebooks coming out from Japan that are like this style because it is exactly meant to be put like under your keyboard on the desk. So yeah, Daiso, there are a lot of great options there, and of course there are many of the same type of shops, no matter where you live. Finally, I bought these like general sticker books from Target and also like the aquarium shop, and they were only like $3.99 and this was $2.99. Like seriously, super inexpensive when it comes to stickers, right? And it's a huge pack. So if you like this style, it's sort of like old school or like, obviously meant for kids. Maybe you could call it kitschy. Um, stuff that you would find in like Hallmark kind of shops. I guess it's like American stationery. I don't know how you would describe this style, but it's still cute. It's still fun, and there are so many options. So like when you pass by the school supply aisle at the supermarket or any kind of regular store, take a look to see if there's actually something that you would enjoy using. I know that, online trends, things like that, we see certain styles and certain brands all the time, but those are not the only things that exist, and you certainly don't have to use those, if that makes sense. I actually got my daughter a pack of similar ones that were like baby shark themed because she loves baby shark. So again, I don't think we should overlook these like everyday options when it comes to journaling. We definitely can use everyday things. These days, I know a lot of people are really into junk journaling, and that just means collecting ephemera like from everyday life. So, in a sense, you sort of have to think that way, like open up your creative sense because anything and everything can be a journaling supply. It doesn't have to cost a lot. Which also made me think of like hardware stores and office supply stores. Where you can get like vinyl stickers, alphas, and labels, like that kind of stuff that actually is very useful in like stationery and journaling as well, especially if you like that style. But even like if you don't necessarily think you like that style, something general like a label or a frame works with like your other supplies that you already have as well, because it's sort of like a general type of journaling supply. So I just think it can be really, really useful. So again, I just wanted to share these couple of thoughts. Hopefully, they will help you when it comes to looking for budget friendly stationery items and to not overlook just the everyday things around you. And ultimately, I feel like you can use so many things, and there are so many supplies just in our everyday life that the other supplies that we buy, they really are just like icing and extra. Um, Even if you didn't have the budget to buy like those premium brands or whatever's trendy right now, you still would have a lot of things around you that you could use. I mean, you can just take a magazine and cut it apart and glue and use that, right? So there are always options. It just depends how, creative you can get and just sort of like think out of the box kind of thing. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video and these couple of tips that I wanted to share in regards to journaling and budget stationery items. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe to my channel if you want to keep updated with my upcoming stationery videos. I wish you a very lovely day, and until next time, bye.